Hello, welcome to the European Open briefing for Thursday, April 26. I'm Rafi Barajan, currency analyst at XM.com, and we're going to be taking a look at the latest developments in the currency markets today. The US dollar has paused for a bit of breath after touching fresh highs yesterday as it continues to get a boost from rising US Treasury yields. The euro is trading near 2-month lows ahead of that European Central Bank policy decision later today. The Australian dollar has managed to steady somewhat with the help of some positive data out of Australia, though the Kiwi continues to slide lower. Gold prices have fallen to 1-month lows. They're a little bit firmer this morning, but overall they're being pressured by rising government bond yields, not just in the US, but across the globe. And oil prices are up after President Trump said he's still thinking about scrapping the Iran nuclear deal. So let's get started taking a quick look at the major pairs and stock indices. We can see dollar index continues to climb, slightly lower against the yen, though. The euro has now turned positive, but sterling has just come under pressure. It had actually fallen to below 1.39 at some point. We can see the Aussie is slightly firmer, but the loonie and the Kiwi are down against the US dollar just a little bit. Gold prices are slightly positive for the moment, but if we look at in the stocks, we can see they're mostly mixed. Chinese indices fell this morning, but the Nikkei in Japan managed to close up, and we're seeing a mixed start in Europe. In the US overnight, we saw small gains on Wall Street. Let's take a look at the US dollar. We can see those fresh highs yesterday. Dollar index climbing to 3.5 months high, above 91, and dollar yen climbing to 2.5 months high of 109.46. It's moving slightly lower this morning, but US Treasury yields have managed to remain above 3% yesterday. The 10-year yield climbed to the highest since December 2013, reaching 3.035%. But the rising yields are having a negative impact on stocks, particularly in the US, because despite record earnings, we're not seeing much gains in major indices. The S&P, though, did finally manage to close up after 4 straight days of losses, though they were just only small gains. Data will be coming into focus. We've got US durable goods orders and the preliminary first quarter GDP numbers for the US tomorrow. Looking at European currencies, we can see the euro is struggling at 2-month lows at 1.2158. It touched that low both yesterday and today, and at the moment it's trading just above those lows. Although European government bond yields have also been rising, they haven't been rising as much as the Treasury yields, and therefore we're seeing a widening in the yield spread between US and Eurozone government bond yields, so that's pressuring the euro. Of course, we've also been seeing negative data coming out of the Eurozone during much of the first quarter. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Mario Draghi, ECB president, will comment on that slowdown in Eurozone growth we're seeing since the start of 2018 when he holds his press conference later today. The ECB isn't expected to announce any changes to its policy when they make that announcement at 11:45 GMT. It's also going to be interesting to see whether or not Mario Draghi will mention the euro, so we could see some potential moves later on. The pound has slipped to 6-week lows of 1.3893. It came under pressure not just from the high US dollar, but also some comments from the EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, saying that there are still many topics of disagreement with the UK. We're also seeing some rising uncertainty as the House of Lords has voted again against another key piece of the EU withdrawal bill, so that takes the number of defeats for the government to around 3 or 4, and the the UK Prime Minister Theresa May is also under pressure to remain in the customs union. That could potentially cause a split within her cabinet. And although the House of Commons is likely to overturn those amendments by the House of Lords, the one key piece of legislation that could be defeated in the House of Commons when it goes back to the House of Commons is that one regarding whether or not the UK should stay in the customs union. So that could potentially cause problems for the pound down the line. Moving on to commodity-linked currencies, we can see all three major commodity currencies, the Aussie, the Kiwi and the Loonie, have been trending low for much of the week. The Aussie is attempting though to rebound from yesterday's 4-month low of 0.7549 against the US dollar. It got a bit of a boost from data today showing exports out of Australia, export prices rather, rose faster than imports, so that's positive for Australia's terms of trade. The Aussie currently trading just above 0.7560 level. The Kiwi though continues to slide. It's touched a fresh 4-month low of 0.7055 a short while ago. The Loonie, we can see though, is firmer this morning, moving away from yesterday's 3-week low of 1.2897 to the US dollar. It got a bit of a boost after the Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Polo's during his testimony before Canadian Parliament, he said that he finally sees the Canadian economy looking positive. So that's now boosted expectations of a rate hike in July. A May rate hike is now looking out of the picture, but we could see a rate hike in the summer. That's also sort of helping the Loonie against the resurgent greenback. And now, taking a look at gold prices, we can see prices slid to a 1-month low, $1,318 an ounce yesterday. They recovered slightly to around 1,323 at the moment. We could see though prices falling towards that support area around 1,305 and 1,310 if US yields continue to rise. And also we've got those talks between the North and South Korean leaders tomorrow. If there's some positive progress there, we could see safe haven gold retreating further. And looking at oil prices, they're holding fairly firm. WTI around just about the $68 a barrel level. They're being supported by the possibility that the US may abandon the nuclear deal with Iran. President Macron did try to convince Trump not to do that, but President Macron is now saying that he expects Trump will scrap the deal, although there are behind the scenes attempts by France, Britain and Germany to come up with a new deal to persuade the US to remain in the pact. We're also seeing falling production out of Venezuela. That's also helping that bullish sentiment with oil prices, although the gains are fairly limited, as we saw a rise in US crude oil inventories yesterday from the latest EIA data. And looking at today's economic calendar, we did have a Riksbank meeting. That's the Sweden Central Bank. They did hold rates at minus 0.5%, though they did say that they may start raising rates towards the end of this year as opposed to closer to the middle of this year. So that did help the Swedish krona fall against its peers. After that announcement, we've got the ECB, of course, decision coming up. The press conference is at 12:30 GMT, and the US data, which will be durable goods. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.